Warning, if you are faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
I don't give a damn about what you saying, bitch, you in the way. Closed case, my nigga beat the charges like yesterday. In your face, I'ma go hard and make sure you see the cake. Keep the pace, ain't no one fucking with me, this not a race. Doing the shit that I want, I'm never gonna stop, I'm never gonna give in. Making my way to the top, I told you to ride, I told you to get in. Now you can't eat out my pot, it's filled to the top, and I'm about to dig in. You say I was doing you wrong.
All right, here we are live. Welcome to the Go Rogue podcast. I'm here with Hans Berquist, my co-host, and John Roneker, ABKC judge and American Bully breeder. Welcome, sir.
What's up, everybody?
Don't forget the Frenchie. He breeds Frenchies too.
Yeah, don't let that out. Remember, it's all a secret. I just started breeding, guys. I just started, man. Come on.
I hear you. So, you got any shows coming up this week?
Nothing this week. We got 2 shows coming up, and then I'm in Europe for Belgium at the end of the month for Halloween. It should be a blast, man.
I wondered if you traveled internationally.
Oh yeah, I've done Russia, I've done Spain, I've done everywhere in South America. So the old dog's been around everywhere for sure.
I hear you.
Asia? You've been to the Philippines?
No, you know what? I wanted to, but I believe it or not, guys, I'm a wuss, man. It's too long of flights for me and my ass, and so that's the only reason. No disrespect to any of them, because I love the bully community out there. I do reach out to them. Just not good with flying that far, man.
I hear you. Let me see where QK, he just made a comment. I want to make sure. I think, no, still doesn't work. Okay, so apparently, let me see. I'm thinking that the comments on my personal, if you're watching on my personal and you try to make a comment, I will not see it. I don't know why. I try to fix it and it still doesn't seem to be working. So make sure you go to the page, the Go Rogue podcast page on Facebook, or live on YouTube, and we'll definitely be able to see your comments. So just kicking it off here, John, I've got a little clip from a video that the ABKC released earlier this week.
Gotcha.
And I just want to play that clip for you. It's kind of a section where he kind of summed everything up, and then we can kind of jump into what all that means exactly.
All good. That sounds good, guys.
We would have a meeting with our judges, and we would give more clarity, and we would get stricter. So you will see now in the future, judges are going to be a lot stricter. They're going to be able to give you a better understanding of why they've made the choices. You're going to see in a lot of instances where we're going to be withholding. If we're in situations where, number one, the dogs in the class don't fit breed type, and number two, where we're seeing severe flaws that are very distinguishable flaws, then we're going to be withholding. If it just in a situation where the caliber isn't there, then we're going to withhold ribbons, because we are at the phase now in the American Bully where we should be further along on what we're producing and what is being displayed in the ring.
There we go. So what's your thoughts? There was a meeting, I guess, that got everybody together and had a little chat.
Yeah, we were opened up to, they voiced what they wanted us kind of do with cracking down a little bit more on flaws. I don't want to say just flaws, but getting tighter. I guess I would say flaws. I hate to use that like that, because I'm not against it. Because if you know me, I'm gonna pick the dog apart. I'm gonna go from every point to the breed standard, the breed type, and I'm gonna weigh out the best dog. You got to understand me as an old judge, why I judge this way big time. And I don't like to just, because we're not developed enough. Okay. So what happened years ago back is, if you flaw judge, you're going to take our bully breed to a terrier trait. There's no way dogs can move and look and do what they got. So flaw judging and all that takes our breed backwards. I've already been there, and you can disagree with me, but I've seen it in the ring for many years, why we have a little bit smaller head, good movement pockets, but they're not extreme. They're to the extreme to the standard. Okay, right. That's what people got to understand. You know, being a bully breeder, being a bully means to the extreme to the standards, you know, extreme muscle, extreme bone, you know, that's what, you know, people got to understand there too. You know, it's a big misunderstanding a lot there, you know?
Yeah, that was, cause when I first heard that video, I was like, I mean, it kind of sounds like a double-edged sword, right? Cause there was a bunch of people online that were making a bunch of crap about dogs that were winning that had, top line issues or stifles or whatever the problem was.
Right.
And then it seems like, okay, we're going to give you what you want. We're going to be more strict on those, but we're also going to be more strict on lack of breed character, or lack of breed type. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because now, you drilled the judges in on those issues, but you're drilling the judges in on your issues too.
Right.
People that don't bring enough breed type to the ring, but they have great structure.
Yeah. And he said it exactly. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, what are we gonna do? Like now I get it. If we're not established enough as a breed, you can see how we're all over the board. So now you're putting us positions where we're gonna start dismissing dogs instead of looking at what dogs can bring and bring us forward, because our breed's not solid enough. And I'm not saying there's not good dogs out there. Don't get me wrong. Okay, AKC judges, shit, I'd love to be an AKC judge. You know how easy their friggin' job is? Excuse me, guys, I'm gonna be real. Okay. They have cookie cutters. They have set standards. When they go in there, they can be more precise with flaw judging and all that because they're represented with a same standard all the way across, same look. Okay, that's a big factor what people don't understand, especially with myself. Breed type is everything. Okay, and what I say breed type is characteristic of identifying the breed. Okay, and just to touch on them with that subject. Okay, this is when you see breed standards and they have coats in there and they have movement. Okay, those are references to because the breed that's what identifies them. Okay, and I'm not saying that our breed, but we're a companion breed. We are not a working breed. We're not a sporting breed. You know what I mean? So like I don't know, to be so flawed judging and then take the breed characteristics away, you're killing our breed, and I'm not disagreeing with Dave, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't get a little tighter and stuff, but people got to understand when they see these certain dogs with flaws, what other characteristics to the breed type and everything else they bring so they can understand why it is. It's not just a flaw. Okay, that's all they're seeing, but they're not seeing that this dog has great structure, compact. It's got great bone and muscle. I mean, its face. It's broad. Its ear set is gorgeous. Its muzzle is nice and square. But I mean, it's not like you got to take the whole dog in consideration. Okay, and this is where you got to give us ABKC judges the props. We're the best judges out there because we're faced with so much in the ring to come to a decision a lot. Okay, people don't see that. They just say, oh, if I could just go out, it was rear high. Tail says, you know how easy for judging that would be? I have to look at that dog and dissect it 40 different categories. Okay, number one, headpiece is everything. So I'm real crucial with that, dissecting that from how broad the forehead is, how blocky it is. I mean, I'm looking at as far as the shape of the eyes. You got to, we're analyzing that dog in maybe like 5 to 10, but we're looking at everything with that dog. You know what I mean? So us, and then we got to come down. Okay, they're flawed. What is more serious of a flaw? And this is where people got to understand as a judge. I mean, you throw me an easy dog, my 8-year-old nephew can tell you what a good, but now break it down when it's not a good dog. What dog is going to bring the right characteristics, breed type, and all that to make that decision? I mean, we throw out everything. Where are we going to go? I'll tell you right now, back to Terrier. But I have to abide by the judge and what our registry wants. Mm-hmm. But I'm not for it, and that's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, because I think I remember seeing videos back in so videos way back, I see of like. Razor's Edge dogs that are like muscly and like they've got the headpiece and the big neck and all that, right? And then fast forward, I think I saw like some videos around 2010.
Okay.
And the dogs didn't look like that anymore. They were they looked more terrier, you know what I mean? They didn't have those extreme features. They moved great. Don't get me wrong, they moved great, but they didn't look like the definition. And I wondered, like, recently they've kind of released these illustrations, which we haven't had previously, right?
Yep.
It kind of gives you a picture of when we say extreme, this is what we mean. And they give you a picture, you know, because previously we just haven't had a picture. Because is some of the dogs by today's standards we say lack breed type, are they more extreme than a pit bull? Absolutely. Yeah, they definitely are, you know. But I think those illustrations are going to go a long way if people will, grab those illustrations off ABKC's website, or I know Cooper's been posting a lot of them. But if people grab those and have them readily on hand, they can look at their dogs and compare them to those illustrations. I think that should help a lot if people are willing to accept it, you know.
I agree. I mean, I'm for the illustrations, so you see, but I mean, and you know me, uncut and real. But let's be real, man. You know what I mean? We're not faced with those diagrams every single time. Okay, so we're faced as a judge. Do you dismiss everything and then nothing's in there? Who's going to want to show their dog? And don't get me wrong, if I thought we were close enough to a breed standard that everybody would, but we're not there.
Right.
You know, and that's the problem. And it sucks. And people get on us as judges, but we're faced with a lot harder judging than any registry there is around here, you know, because of that reason. And now people might say, okay, you know, you don't have to agree with me where I think movement, because I'm giving you why, is because we're not a movement breed. And that's what I'm saying. It's not saying it's low on my stat, not saying just throw me an ass high rear, or high tail set, or, you know, straight stipes. I mean, I want to see all that. But when it comes down to a dog, the number one is characteristic, breed type characteristic. Headpiece is number one. And when dogs have all that, especially headpiece, now they have more bone, more mass, their fronts are great, everything else. We're on the rear high sub, we're going to keep on that. Okay, so now you see the rear high, okay? Now, let me ask you, and this is when I want to make people think. Okay, rear high, is there any health issues besides, I mean, of course, you know, lameness and all that. Okay, does anybody die from a high rear?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not the last time I checked.
Okay, but yet our community will pick that apart, but yet they'll let an over barrel chested dog or a barrel chested dog go. I mean, the things we call it old school, I call it V frame because their feet are touching. Okay, when you have dogs like that, it's called bloating and it's called CDV, intestinal twisting. Those two are life-threatening conditions from what that is. Well, why is a rear high, which has no life-threatening things, such more of a factor than that? Or it's just because the community is picking on one thing and not realizing what the other is?
Right. And I think that's solely what it is, because there could be 100 flaws. There could be, you know, the angles of the shoulder or the angles of the hip, a lot of things that you as judges are supposed to look at, but can't be identified at 40 feet.
Yeah.
Right. So you could say this dog's, you know, maybe he's weak in the pasterns. Maybe he's a little cowhawk. Like, there's a bunch of factors that you don't see at 40 feet that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a fault too. That's what people don't like. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's certain faults that they want to make as a DQ, then I, as a judge, will have to abide by it and go by it. But now, like a lot of these faults, and I don't mean to keep using rear high. It's just been a subject lately. That is a fault. That's not a serious fault, and it's not a DQ.
Right.
So this is what people got to understand: is it might be a pet peeve to you, and hey, I respect you if that's a pet peeve to you. But come up to me or come up to us, Joe. I'll dissect exactly why that high rear end got overlooked because of the breed type. The great. I mean, just the appearance of the dog. I mean, it comes with great strength. It looks like an American bully. It's screaming breed type identification.
Right.
So, John, are there characteristics of a dog you're evaluating that the spectators don't know? They're not visual, Are there things in your evaluation of a dog that you would physically have to put hands on the dog to assess it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everything to do with the underbite, all that. I mean, you got to put your hands on that. I mean, a lot of dogs, you got to make sure. I mean, I don't want to say testicles. You can usually see them, but yeah, hands on is huge. Coat, muscle tone, especially with me, tone when you're feeling all that. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
I just don't understand why, the breed is, like you said, when you're in 2010, you're saying it was more terrier type, and then we got to get back into the characteristics of the breed, which is bully, extreme standard, right? People think that you can put 40 pounds on a pigeon and it's going to fly. People think that a bully of its size now should be moving like a pit bull. Only thing that moves like a pit bull is a pit bull.
Yeah.
Agree. This is a completely different breed.
Agree. And another thing to add to that is people got to understand how a pocket. I mean, we want to and I'll say I think we're at our extreme with size because we're only going to start losing movement and all. But we as a society, and everybody's got to understand, a pocket's not going to move like a standard or a classic, okay, because of the length of the arms. I mean, so us as a judge and people, this is where I need people to wake up, is you got to understand how a dog's going to move, okay? And I always use a bodybuilder as an example. You have a dude that's jacked up with lads out to hell, man. His arms are out. He's kind of walking with a waddle or a paddle. It's because of how much muscle he's carrying. So these are what this is where you have to wake up and see what's going, I mean, you got to be educated. You got to start understanding, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the classics, that's why we have a classic. I want to see a better movement class. Well, it should. It has better structure for better movement. Common sense.
Right.
I
think that's one of the classes that's the hardest, is to say it's a classic, so it doesn't need to look like a bully, but it really does. Like, it's still expected to have a bully head, and the head is the defining factor. Like, the head, dude, that's the first thing you look at. No one looks at a dog's ass when they see it the first time. They look at its head. They look at right in the eyes, right? So if it doesn't have the head, if it doesn't have the blocky, the square muzzle and the big blocky head and the cheeks, that's what defines our breed. That is a requirement. Even for the classic. The classic needs to have it too.
100%. You'll see me with my classics in my ring. I don't want to see an old terrier. I want to see a bully headpiece, a bully identifying characteristic headpiece.
Right.
It might not be as broad. It might not. Maybe maybe the muscle. They're not as chiseled. It might just be more defined. And that's what people got to understand. What bullier dogs are. They're more extreme to the standards. You know what I mean? Right. And what I mean by that is, just with using the cheeks, you're just going to see more defined, more muscle, a broader head, a larger head. But that doesn't mean I want to see a shitty ear set, or I want to see a snipey nose, or no, I want to still see the same that I'm going to see in my extremes, just with little less extreme features in my classics.
Right.
I mean, and I feel, and I'll say now, and I'm not being mean, but I'm being honest. And you guys know I'm always straight up, is the XL class is going to take a big hit with this, because 80% of our XLs do not example the headpiece, breed type headpiece that we need for the American Bully. So I'm feeling these poor guys in the XL, they're getting beat up in England. Now they're going to get beat up by us.
Right. Because
I'm not saying that we're not right, because we need to get them headpieces to where, they're not Great Danes, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they're given, basically what they're doing is they're giving you the ability to say, well, I'm not going to award anybody. Like, or they're encouraging more that you don't award anybody, because either a dog doesn't have breed character, it doesn't represent the breed, or B, the flaws are substantial enough that you just don't feel anybody in the ring that day is worthy of the ribbon.
Yep, they're giving us more reign to do that. 100%. That's kind of what they're saying. And now, we're not okay. Don't get me wrong. We're not just gonna withhold just to withhold.
Right.
You know, you're not gonna see me. You're not gonna see me do that. You know what I mean?
So,
And I always say, and I stand by it, and everybody that knows about me, you know, I talk in the ring. You know, I'm always vocal. I'm always sharing what and why. I mean, from handling skills to, I'm not going to change who I am in the ring. So it's going to be, I'm not just going to withhold, but I might start getting a little tighter with flaws. And that seems the way that's more. I ain't never, ever going to give up breed type. It's a number one thing with me. I will not. And anybody knows if you're a breeder, one wrong breeding, okay, will change your dog. Two wrong breedings, you have a different dog.
Yep.
Okay, so people have to start understanding why breed type and identification characteristics are so important. You know, that's why it trumps everything. For me, it trumps everything.
It's
You
like-
know, and I'm not saying as a judge that I don't look at everything, and I'm not saying that I overlook flaws. Because trust me, I want the baddest ass, biggest, boned up muscle,
right.
flaws. That's what I want. But what's going to get us there? That's what people got to wake up.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and I think I almost feel like maybe the community pushed that agenda to get more to get more critical, when I think previously maybe you as the judges were like, hey, we're only 17 years in, most of these breeds are 100 years old,
Right.
And what's coming to the ring in 100-year-old breed is dogs that have been refined over and over again. Like you're micro making changes to refine those dogs.
It's still in its adolescence.
Yeah, we're still 17 years in as nothing. Like it's actually kind of shocking that the percentage of dogs out there that actually fit breed type, at 17 years, I think we're making good progression. Me personally, I don't know if it's time to be that aggressive, as far as making the call on just not giving anyone a ribbon. But I mean, it's not my call. I'm a breeder, so.
Yeah.
Before the enforced direction of the ABKC and withholding, how often did you withhold?
I mean, not as much as probably maybe all your other judges, because a lot of the flawed dogs are bullier dogs. Okay, so I'm gonna look at what the breed type characteristics. I'm gonna look at like the appearance, the great strength of it, the appearance of that. I'm gonna look at all that because type is everything. Okay, now don't get me wrong. If we were friggin' an Afghan, if a dog had the identification of the coat, then that would come in more into my judgment, because that's identifying that breed.
Right.
Or even say movement. Okay, if greyhounds, all these dogs, herding dogs, all these working dogs, all these sports dogs, these dogs' movement and all that is a big factor of what their standards go to. So that's you can say, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but that's why all the other stuff, all the breed type and all that to the standards is more important than the movement.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, don't call me, don't make a half a video like you did last week and only put in one part of what I said. Put the whole video in and be real, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
And call me out. If you honestly don't feel how I feel, and you give me an intelligent, educated reasoning, I'm going to understand it. Okay, I'm not going to say you're right because maybe I feel different, but I'm going to understand why you feel this way.
Right.
And that's a big thing with the community. And we'll address that video, and I'm not going to address it to do anything to justify me or anybody who was in that ring that day. It's just because what it did to the community, purposely to divide it. You have a gentleman that's not even in our ABKC. He got bent out of shape because he lost a stack off, and now he throws me into the mix in it. He shows a half a video. I'm not defending all that for myself because I stand by everything, but he didn't give a whole video. He didn't do a lot of things, and the community needs to see that because it happens a lot, and we need to stand up or understand that How many of us have dogs that you can get a bad picture of? He's looking on the ground. He's rolling in his shoulders. He's turning in his fucking. Oh, excuse me. I got to be correct. I apologize about that, Bob. But all of a sudden he's turning and his front paw is 3 o'clock. Anybody can give one picture of any dog in any way, and I'm going to use the reverse. We have a very non-muscular, lacks a little bone and all that, but you stack this nice classy. He looks pissed as hell. But now you get him in looking, feeding and that. He's not showing his muscle tone. He's lacking everything. It's the same way. You can get a dog in any shitty picture. Just be real with it. Don't use it because you lost the stack off. Don't lose it because you're an exotic breeder. Don't do that because you're a judge in another registry. Or present your whole case. Don't do half and half. It's not right.
Exactly.
And that's all I'm talking about that video, guys. That's it. But I did that only for the community, and I mean that I'm not justifying anything. And I apologize. The only apologize I have is to the people that were in that ring that day, for my words that I said that I exposed them to maybe bullshit or whatever. I apologize for that, but I don't take what I said back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be interesting moving forward for sure. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to curb the issue anymore because, do you think that maybe giving the judges more leeway to make harder decisions is putting all the judges on the same plane now?
No,
there are some judges that are, some judges are very terrier leaning. They prefer that movement, and I don't think that's going to help anything as far as changing their mind, or because ultimately we still need to focus on the dog needs to look like the American Bully first, and then we can hold it against the standard.
Yep.
So
exactly.
It's clear that doesn't always happen. Not calling out any particular person, but it doesn't always happen. Lots of times, they focus more on the movement of the dog and less of the fact that the dog has that headpiece or has that bone.
And I agree with you exactly. And this is my I'm going to step out of the judging role here, and I'm going to be just me. And I've already seen it from being a breeder for so many years. Okay, what's going to happen is we're going to start leaning toward more terrier traits. Okay, I want to be wrong. Everyone out there, I want to be wrong. Okay, seriously. But I've already been there.
Right.
I've already had a judge like this. Okay, and I'm not saying, and all our judges are just, and I guarantee you, we're not just going to throw the dogs out that are screaming, that breed type, that heavy mass. We're still going to see judges that are, myself. We're just going to get more pickier with the more, and I want them to change flaws to extreme, serious, and DQs, because a flaw is a flaw, and if a dog carries so much more, especially in the headpiece, in the front, just whatever it is so much more than the other dogs in that ring. But it's got a high rear, the tail set so bad, it's straight stify, whatever. If it carries more, that's a dog that should win.
Right.
Right.
And not because it has flaws.
Right.
Flaws is going to take us back to character.
Because of its breed characteristics.
Right.
You got it. Breed type characteristics. And this is where us as a community got to start understanding what our breed type characteristics are.
Right.
Okay. Now this goes back to me when I'm saying about movement. I'm not saying it, and don't take half a clip here again, is that I'm not saying that those flaws ain't important, but there's other things, breed identification, characteristics, headpiece, muzzle, all these stuff that identifies a breed outweigh it.
Right.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
But just like you said, this has happened in the past. It happened in the past. And you saw the result within just a few years of that stricter, focus on movement, what happened to the dogs.
And how long did it take to get back to the bulls we have now?
It took us probably about 3 years or so, maybe 4 years of judging like that. And it's taken us till this day to fully start getting out of there. And we still see a lot of our females with smaller heads. We see a lot of the nice movement. Don't get me wrong. They move very nice. They're just not having that dominant, that broad, that large, they don't have that nice chiseled muscle in the jaw. The noses are, I mean, how many females do we see with the little snipey ass noses and all that? I don't want to say take the blame from that judging, but how do you get a pocket that moves great back then? It's only going to be a terrier. Well, what's going to carry with the terrier? Well, the headpiece.
Right.
I mean, we ain't making, this ain't a nuclear bomb shit. This is, it makes pretty sense. If you think about it and get out of your stuck in your way and start opening your mind, you'll start seeing it and it'll make sense.
Right. So, I mean, how much, let's just take the muzzle, for instance, like how much weight does that really have? Like, say you get a dog that has a reasonable top line, it moves pretty well, a lot of the factors are there, but maybe that dog just has the complete wrong muzzle.
Huge with me, huge.
So that's huge weight, like, because the muzzle it doesn't identify.
It's part of identifying the breed.
Yeah, as the breed.
Exactly. That's the whole key, and that's why you always hear me headpiece. And this is what people got to understand. That we're known for that look, that great strength, that appearance. That is what our breed type identification. That is what our characteristic is. That's what makes us.
Right.
That's what makes the American Bully.
Now,
go
ahead.
Being a judge and being a breeder, would you say that the way you breed would be similar to the way you evaluate a dog? You start with the headpiece, you work your way down, the shoulders, the back, the rear. How would you, as a breeder, would that be, because people, right now the hot topic is the rear, right? Yeah. How would you correct that?
Well, number one, research. You got to look at what these dogs are producing, and even a rear high dog. And I don't use anybody's name or anything. That these dogs, some of them, and over the years, have bring great characteristics to the breed type that we need. Right. So it's. I mean, the type is everything. Now, there's many times that I'm judging, and I'm going to lean toward a more clean, and I'll be straight honest, a little bit more polished, better movement dog. But there was 2 dogs in there that I would breed first.
Right.
Okay, and I say that very clearly. But I'm not just breeding to them dogs because they're jacked up. And I know my program. You guys all see my program. I mean, I'm not out there throwing everything. I do private sales. But you've seen the product. I have close to a 70% production champion ratio. Okay, this litter, the last litter I did, 5 of them all champed out already out of the whole litter.
Nice.
So. And this is where I go back. Don't tell me that you can, because I built it for 20 years now. These tools and these things, you just got to understand what your program is, what your blood is, what's going to work and not work. Right. Now, you bring in, I'm not going to say overly classic stuff with my stuff. Yeah, my stuff will make that shit bully as hell, but it's also going to take it a step back.
Right.
So, my breeding programs, I'm going to take a more chance of, because I already have it kind of polished where it's limited flaws. I might gamble with something to bring a little bit more substance or a certain trait that dog's carrying. He might have a jacked rear end, or he might have stiff stifes, or his tail sets back, or whatever it is. But you got to understand your program, what's going to work and not work,
right. And just to let everybody know one more time, if you're commenting on my personal, for some reason, those comments don't come through. We're seeing. If you go to the Go Rogue Podcast Facebook page or YouTube Live, either one of those, your comments will come through. We're seeing a bunch of comments, so I know there are people on the Facebook page. But last time when we got done, we logged off, and there was like a ton on my personal that we never saw. So
no, I'm hanging in here, man. Like I'm here. This is why I came on, guys. You know, it's not about the controversy. It's about bringing us all together and to understand, so we can take the breed forward instead of penalizing a dog for a fault. Take him for his positive and mix with our positive, so we get where we need to be.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
The betterment of the breed. Absolutely.
Better in the breed. Yeah. You know, and then we got to educate and understand. See, a lot of our controversy and a lot of our stuff is newbies that come in and they're breeding. They don't understand the breeding. They're breeding shit, and then they're selling the dream to these new newbies, and then they're jumping on us like, why is this dog winning? Why? Well, did you see just the breed type? Did you just see the headpiece? You know, do we need?
Right.
To, you know,
I feel like a lot of these people, their misconception of the core of the American Bully, they think it's conformation, when the core of the American Bully should be type.
Yeah,
that's the first thing you're after is type.
You got it. Or for just to refresh a lot of these newbies and all that, why do you think the ABKC is here?
Yeah.
I mean, Dave Wilson can speak more on this. I can only speak from being an old dog and competing in those days, is because we were pushing the limits too hard that our dogs got out of their standard. We're having wow factor dogs back then that people are all around our dogs. We can't even pull a third because it's not in the standard. You know what I mean? We've all been there. Like, that's why we've pushed this limit. We've pushed it here to get it to the American Bully. You know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like a lot of people though in my area, you know how we started the bully is because they were taking our pit bulls from us. So if we had a mixed breed dog, we were able to keep it. So people started having an English that mixed with their Staffy, and this all of a sudden, damn man, holy shit, look at that dog. Now the American brand, you know, and I'm being real, you know what I mean? I can tell you I never crossed anything, but boy, man, those were the dogs that I was breeding with back then.
Right. Yeah.
You know? So, and people got to understand every register, look at the Frenchies, look at anything from 1920 to 30 to 40 to 50. All these breeds have evolved, and a lot of them have changed their looks. Okay. And people, why do you think, you know, be real? Like, why do you think it is? You think it was health reasons? Hell no. It was who was selling puppies and who was breeding, and the dollars were coming to their pocket.
Market, right? The market usually influences everything.
You know? But here, no, let me go back to correct. No, all those standards were changed because we were doing it for health reasons, and we were correcting the breed structure. Get the hell out of here. Be real, man, you know? Yeah. You know, sorry, you know, sometimes I gotta be me, but you know, we gotta be real. Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
I mean, from the beginning, you know, we were, you know, for everything I've seen, the breed was never intended to be a dog that can run outside for 30 minutes in 80-degree weather. You know, that wasn't the intent. The dog was a dog that was a companion breed that was supposed to be in your house with you, like reasonable to be able to go outside and use the bathroom, play for a little while, you know, but not to have like the crazy endurance that I hear a bunch of people talking about. Like, oh, these dogs are unhealthy because they can't go outside and run for an hour.
Most people can't do that.
Or, you know what I was gonna say? Or how about be real? Like, how many? And I'm, you know, not picking on any certain person. How many of these guys are even exercising these dogs? How many of these guys? Okay, do you want to know what I think exactly? 80% of our rear end problems is because you're overdoing a dog at too young of an age, and it's developing the hip issues. It's not genetic. You're developing it, and then you're packing all that weight on it with no exercise. Well, you know, no offense, you don't build the muscles. So what are you going to have? A weak rear end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not saying that that's with everything. Don't do the half video again on me here, but you know, but let's be real. You know what I mean? Let's be real with that. Are you exercising this dog? Is it slacking because you're not building the muscles, but now you're slamming on weight and letting it sit in the cage?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how, you know, even my most extreme dogs still get daily exercise. They have to. You know, even mental health, just getting out and moving around is important.
Absolutely. So my wife's walking, running dogs 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yeah.
But to be
And
honest,
that's what people got to realize. That's what we want out of our dog. We don't get me wrong. We want them healthy and that, but do we really want them to go jogging 5 fucking miles? You know what I mean? Or do we
No.
really, be real? Yes, we want them in the backyard. We want them running around. We want them to play with our kids and all that. All my dogs do that all day long.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, you pull my dog out and you want to take him for a walk and that, he's like, man, I ain't going nowhere, dude. I ain't going nowhere. That's how they are. Not that they can't, but they want to chill with me. That's why they're called a companion breed.
Right.
Okay, we all have it. How many of your dogs want to sit with you on your couch and hang out, or want to go run in the park with you?
Right.
Yeah, every single one
Majority
of them.
of these bullies want to hang with you, man.
Right. Well, that high drive is actually undesirable in our breed. Like, we don't want that high drive that came from its ancestors.
True. And that's another thing with the bully, like the bullier dogs. What do you want with your American bully? Okay, do you want it more? And I'm not saying this that I want the trait of it, but do you want it to come from more of a bulldog bully breed, or do you want it to come from a terrier pack?
Right.
You know what I mean? And no one even has to ask. We all want that mass. We want that presence of great, that appearance of great strength, and that's what we want.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my personal opinion when I'm looking at a dog, because I really want to make sure that I just step away from anything that will remind. If I took my dog into the pet store, I want those attributes that would make that person look at that dog and go, oh, that's a pit bull. I want to step away from those. So what you notice, like, I know this isn't in the standard, it's just my personal opinion. But
Gotcha.
if I look at a dog that is 15 inches at the withers, I want to see that dog across the chest approaching that same width. It doesn't have to be exactly 15 inches, but approaching that same width, right? Because to me, that gives that dog that square look, right? And that's something that the terrier doesn't have. A terrier dog is still much more vertical. It's not nearly as wide as it is tall.
More a cathedral front, That's what I call, a cathedral. And even if a classic comes in with a little narrower like that, it's still got to carry the bone and the muscle mass. And it doesn't mean it has to have the bulk of the, but I want to still see the tone. I want to still see the definition. I still want to see all those traits of the American bully breed type characteristics, just in a little bit tapered down, not as bulky, but still it's got to be there.
Right.
Maybe less bone density. It's like less bone density, maybe leaner muscle mass as opposed to heavy
and
muscle.
There are some dogs out there that, in my opinion, still fit breed type, but they do lack like bone density. They have the exaggerated muscles, like front and rear. They have the big neck, they have the head.
Yeah.
But they just don't have the bone mass that you would kind of expect for an American bully. But that in itself, we just call that, it's something we need to work on in that particular one. You know what I mean? But they still have to be massive regardless.
Yeah, 100%. And then, that's why I guess the great thing about the American bully is we can, if you want more of an athletic dog, you can have a classic. You want more of a bullier dog, you can change to a more pocket bullier type dog, And I'm not saying that there's not bully standards or nothing like that, but that's the choice that we're lucky that we have, because a lot of other breeds you're not having 4 categories of the same dog.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and just to add to the classics, what people don't realize is the classic class is one of the best developing class that we've ever had. Okay, and this is the funny part of it is people weren't bully enough for standards, so they took their bully not enough standard and put it in classic. You know what they made? The baddest ass fucking classics that you can have.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But that's what people are. See, what it is they weren't kind of understanding what they were doing, but they were doing the right thing. is you're bringing a breed type characteristic headpiece and all that, but it just didn't have the substance of a standard.
Right.
So so you corrected it exactly how it should be.
Right. And then I feel like that was a very positive move for the registry to do, was to move a lot of those dogs into the classic class.
Yep.
It really stepped up. There are times where you go and see the classic class and like I'm impressed. Like, these are nice classes.
Right. They're awesome class, awesome, bro. They're like I said, I'm not no BS, man. It's one of the best developing classes, and like I said, unfortunately, why it kind of went that way is because years back, classic, man. Okay, you're coming in with this terrier. That's
Right.
what you know what I mean.
Right.
And then then we started getting the substance and more of the breed type mass and all that on our standards. Well, now people weren't getting it; they were still getting the blockier, bullier heads, but not the body. So okay, let's take it out of here and throw it in the classic. Well, they were doing the best thing for building the classic breed type identifications.
Yeah, when we first started, QK is a friend of mine. He had a female in the classic class, and she was a smooth dog. Like, there was no extremities whatsoever, but she moved like glass around the ring. And it was funny because one of the first show we ever showed our female we were like, and I was in the same position these people. That's what's so frustrating. Like, when these people want to fight about this, I'm like, I used to think like you think. I know what you're thinking, right? But you're wrong. You need to realize you're wrong. Because I had a female and I was like, this is a standard female, right? And put her in show 1, and the senior judge was like, bink, gone, classic. And I was like, no, she's not a classic, but it was that
It's a hard
day.
pill to swallow.
It
sometimes.
is, but it was that day I accepted it. I said,
Yeah,
fine. If you tell me this is not the standard, this is a classic, then you're the judge. I believe you, and I'm going to work on it,
Yeah.
And so when I hear people having that argument and arguing, no, this isn't a classic, this is a standard, or, and I'm just like, I wish you would just listen. We have great examples, we have the last, 3-4 years, the top dogs that won nationals were amazing examples of the American Bully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I agree 100% as far as that. We have the dogs there. Our biggest problem, and this is where the community's got to get better educated, is all of us know what a perfect dog is.
Yeah.
Okay, the difference is the hard part, and this is the battle, and this is the conflict, is what's better when something's not perfect.
Right.
Okay, this is where people have to open up their eyes, and this is why, and I'm not changing their views of it. If you think movement is so much more important, I respect you, okay, but breed type characteristic is the number one important. It's just, and like I said, I'll go back to it. I don't mean to sound repetitive, but if it comes to our standards that, code is a factor to identify that breed, or movement is because that's a working breed, then it matters more, and we have to educate ourselves with that. You know what I mean?
And the weird part, I think everybody, there's probably an exception of a few people that just think the dog is done and we shouldn't be messing with it anymore. But I think there's a vast majority of people that have, especially females, that lack type, and they want to move toward that. Mm-hmm. And then we have a lot of people out there that have dogs that are maybe a little too extreme, and they want to move. So we're all trying to move toward the center. I don't understand why everyone wants to battle. Like,
I agree.
We all have the same goal. And we should be using the tools on both ends of the spectrum to create the dog in the middle.
Yeah. And you're totally correct. And even, Dave and Coops were on there, and Orlando this week, they address the same thing. Okay. And sometimes this is where I have a big problem, is I don't like to just do something. Okay, it lacks a little bit of breed type, but it's a better, if something is overwhelmingly more superior, that is where my pick is going to go always. Okay. Right. And I'm sure you guys know me enough. I love those big dogs. But sometimes they're not going to hit my best in breed, or sometimes they're not going to hit my best in show. And the reasons are those little fine tuning. You know, are they probably the first ones I'm going to breed with as breeder John? I'm going to dabble around there to get those extremes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But as a judge, you know, I will put it up for how much it reaps the breed type, the mass, all that. But then it might not finish, you know, with a best in show.
Right.
You know.
There's a good question someone posted. They said, so what's your opinion on the difference between UKC and ABKC bullies?
Bullies?
Yeah.
Well, UKC don't have bullies; they have Amstaffs.
Right.
Okay. And no diss everybody out there. I know the program, they're getting better. Trust me, I was a part of it. They wanted me to be a part of it many years ago to bring the program up. The dogs are just not gonna be as bully as we're taking. Our standards give us to bring more extreme dogs. UKC is gonna shun you. You know, and if anybody wants to correct me, I haven't shown in many years there, so I don't want to come off like I'm wrong. Maybe they are picking more bullier dogs there. But you know, enlighten me and let me know if they are. But they always been Amstaff dogs there. You know.
Okay. Yeah, I know. A lot of people that had what were classics at one time. You know, I see some of those people starting to show UKC, and their dogs doing extremely well.
Great.
So, and that in itself was like the other thing that crossed my mind. I'm like, if I was solely in love with this dog and how this dog looks, and then the registry said this doesn't represent the breed anymore, but I had a registry that was like, come on over here, we love your dog. Like, I don't know why I wouldn't even fight. I would just go, okay, I get in where you fit in. This is where I should go. They're gonna reward the dog I breed. So I really don't understand. Well, I don't understand getting on the internet and running your mouth anyway. I just never have been. You know, I'm focusing on my program, and it doesn't make any sense to get online and have arguments with people. Like, I'm going to breed, and I'm going to bring what I breed to the ring, and then that's my argument.
It's not like you bred the dog, or you did a breeding, you had a litter, you took that pup from that litter, and you put it in the ring, and you judged it yourself. That's not how that worked, right? No. But it's your fault. Yeah, it's your fault. You know, and there's so many uneducated people in this breed, and we touched on it before. Like, there's more to a dog than a visual. There's more to a dog than a visual.
Right.
And there's more to a dog than a fault. You got to look at everything, and this is where as we have good judges. I'm not saying I'm a great judge or not, but us good judges are going to break that dog down, not to 5 categories. I'm gonna bust the headpiece down to probably 15 different things as far as what I'm looking at in comparison. I mean, from nostril. I mean, because to me that is the most important, because it's the breed identification. So I'm going to be a lot more harsher with that than a moving breed movement. Right. This is, and don't get me wrong, everybody out there, if you feel movement, I respect you, but I know from experience, you lose breed type, you lose the identification of the breed.
Right. And there's so many aspects. I mean, if you're just looking at the head alone, you're talking lower jaw, bite, muzzle, eyes, ears, cheeks. I mean, there is a lot, and we're just starting. That's just the head. That's just the head.
Yeah. And you're talking shape on top of that. Large. Is it in proportion? And that comes in with the muzzle. The muzzle is, for me, is crucial. Like, I'm looking at the width. I'm looking at the stop. I'm looking at the lower jaw. Is it parallel with the muzzle? You know what I mean? A lot of us. I might not sit there and go in detail with you guys, because I'm trying to give something quick out in the ring, but all this is analyzed. That's why I preach breed type. Or if anybody sees my dogs, that's why my dogs carry badass heads. My bitches are she-males. Because once somebody looks at my dog, I don't hear, oh, is that a pit bull? And I love pit bulls. I come from pit bull background, watchdog bloodlines. I've done it all. You know what I mean? And that's another thing, just to say, I have champions in every single pocket standard, XL. I have them in all of them. Okay. And I've developed over the years more of a pocket guy. Rodrigo Silva, I love him to death, man. Hooked me up with the number one pocket grand champion ever, Little Thug. Not produced by me, but owned by me, showed with me. So I've been there since the beginning with these guys. So I did lean, and my program, like, this is what I want people to understand. My program has changed. I mean, I had XL champions. I mean, how much a program would have to change to go from that, and I'm not saying anything, but to have that experience, and I'm glad I have, but I also have the experience to breeding off of that, or bringing it down to pockets, or trying to mix that blood in and fucking up. Excuse my language. Sorry, I'm not being correct, but basically messing up. Trying to slam too small of a dog with an XL, and also now I got a rear high dog. I made the mistakes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when people look at me and say that flaw, don't tell me. I bred it. I know it. I corrected it. I've done it all.
Right.
Sorry to be the old dog around here, but you know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, we've had a few XL breeders reach out to us to use 7. And I've always been kind of like, I've always liked XLs, but that makes me really hard on them too, so I'm excited when people look at a dog like 7 and they say, okay, I need to use this tool. I need to try to bring that mass, because honestly, if you can get that headpiece and that amount of bone on an XL, my God, you've created the perfect dog. I mean, that's what I want to see. I've seen a few. There are a few XLs out there that are super, super impressive.
Yep.
So I just kind of secretly love that dog, the XL. I just don't have that kind of room. I mean, I keep a lot of dogs. I'm like,
you need a stable.
26 dogs, and I couldn't imagine having 26 XLs.
Yeah.
I don't have the room for that.
Tim,
I love that breed, and I'm really rooting for him.
My ass is too old, man. I can't keep up them suckers in the ring anymore, man. They'll be running past me and shit. I'll be like, damn,
Yeah, exactly.
So would you say your guilty pleasure is pockets?
That's my I'm a pocket. That's my guy, And that's why, I understand the flaws. I understand the paddling. I understand the movement. You know what I mean? I'd rather, and I'll be honest with you, I'd rather see a dog paddle than ever see an over barrel chested pocket, or one that's clicking its feet off. I call it V frame. It's over barreled or barrel chested. Old school guys used to call it because it looks like a V. That is, and what people got to understand, that is more harmful than a high rear. Okay, when you're putting that much pressure and that much weight on the elbows, it's way worse than the rear end. Okay, and I'm gonna step out. This is John talking. Okay, that's my opinion, and I already told you guys with the barrel chested, there's more deadly health issues with that than the rears. Okay, no one dies from. Okay, I'm not saying that hip dysplasia is great or who cares. It's horrible if you have a dog. We've tried to breed out over the years. I've had a few that I bred out. It's in our breed. But no one dies from it. Like over barrel, like people don't understand. There's bloat and CDV. Intestinal twisting. Them are life-threatening conditions from it.
Right.
So you got to expand yourself. I'm not saying that because our breed calls for a wider kind of over barrel chest. It's even in our standards if you read it. Right. So I don't want to over barrel. That's why I use that expression more. And all it is more chest cavity, more space. Right. So it's easier for bloat and easier for those things to occur.
Makes
sense.
Yeah. So recapping on that, we're coming up on our hour, but recapping on that, that video from ABKC is basically probably you think it's just going to exasperate the difference in the judges, where before they were making picks, but they weren't necessarily withholding, where you think maybe this opens the door for those guys that, I don't know, you think that if they tend to lean more toward the terrier, that they're going to withhold against dogs now that have, more outstanding flaws, and maybe guys that prefer more bully are going to withhold against dogs that are more terrier. When maybe normally they would say, well, I'm going to give it to somebody, and even though I prefer a bully dog, maybe I'll give it to this one. because it structurally is really good.
Yeah.
So
excellent point, right? Excellent question. I mean, really, and I'm going to try to be okay. I'm going to go political first. I hope that no judges' decisions are changed for the wrong reasons. I guess I'm going to say. But now John steps out. This is John. Do I think it's going to happen? Yeah. Right. I think that the terrier judges are going to lean toward a movement terrier dogs, and it's going to happen. Now, myself, I'm going to, even myself, even though I would want to put up a breed character, I might start looking at a little bit more cleaner. They're putting me in that position to get a little bit more clean. Right. And that's being honest. Am I going to throw out just to throw out? No. Am I going to judge the same way like I told you guys that I judge? I mean, I'm very simple. Breed type characteristic, number 1. To the standards, number 2. Flaw to number 3. Okay. It's very simple. I'm very open. I don't care you come after me because I'm very open with it. I'll explain to detail why I put it in that order. And I think I've touched a lot here of why breed character, and the movement thing, why I put it a little bit lower. We're a companion. We're not a working, So.
Well, I mean, the registry itself, like we played that audio clip earlier, the registry itself is even saying that, in that video that they posted the other night, they harped on the breed characteristics of the dog. Like, this is first and foremost the most important thing, the breed characteristics. Yeah. And then, I mean, it seems like every time these guys from ABKC get interviewed, they say the same thing. They say, the dog has to have the breed characteristics.
Yep.
But, at the same time, then they say, we don't want you necessarily putting up dogs with, crazy flaws, but the dog first has to be an American Bully.
Well, when they, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're looking at the standard of the American Bully, isn't the very first thing you read is general impression?
100%. And what is
right there is breed characteristics.
100%.
Right there is breed type.
Yep.
So it is the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, just to add to that impression, if you take a picture of the American Bully, okay, put it up there and black it out. It's only the silhouette all the way around the outside. You see nothing else. You should be able to look at that and say that's an American Bully. You shouldn't look at that silhouette and say, "Oh, is that a terrier? Is that a Staffy?
Right.
Is that what I mean?" So yeah, that's that breed type. That's so important. It's just I can't say it enough, but I try to use that example because that sticker, of the German Shepherd, it's blacked out. All of a sudden you just have it there. Do you question it? That looks like a Shepherd. Right away you scream the characteristic, the breed type of what that breed is.
Right. And the Doberman Pinscher are a lot of the same ways because of the crop, because of the way they do their ears, because of their body structure. If you took a silhouette of a Doberman Pinscher and put it on a car, you know exactly what that was. Like
right. But now take those ears away and do it. Is that a whippet? Is that a you get what I'm saying? That's why people got to understand why that characteristic, those breed type identifications are so important.
Like the hair and the movement for other breeds.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what because what do we have the Google generation. Everybody wants to Google and they're professionals. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they Google breed type, and then breed type comes up with 5 elements, or some have 7, whatever. And coat is 1 and movements in there. Okay. Right. Because they're not realizing or being intelligent enough to where those 2 are characteristics of certain breeds, not us American Bullies. I'm not saying we know what our standard is for our coat, but it's not one that identifies us as an American
as a breed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. A greyhound or I mean, I don't want to use certain, I'm just going to use general working breeds. You know what I mean? Movement matters to them, and it's part of their standards. So it's way more of an importance of a breed type characteristic.
Right.
Okay, and this is where we got to start understanding that, not saying don't give me a half a clip and saying, okay, friggin', it does matter, and I'm saying it does come into judgments. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Afghan
Yeah.
hound owners.
When
You mentioned them a lot.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
I said shout out to Afghan hound owners.
Well, I'm trying to think like the dogs that really have coats that
Right.
the old shaggy dog. I was trying to think of him. What's it? What is a breed? I'm having a brain fart. Sorry.
Like
They got that long hair. You know what I mean? It's just certain ones because it identifies them as a breed, the breed type.
right. Yeah.
That's an interesting question. So let's put this one up. It says, so when you're in the ring judging, do you judge the dog in front of you, or do you judge for a dog for what its future could bring?
I'll be honest with my opinions. Breeding worthy is a factor in it.
Yeah.
But breeding worthy means that it is to the high standard. It is screaming breed type.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yes, most definitely a something that's not worth breeding is not. It lacks everything else. So it's just that
Well, I think we hear that term a lot, that carry the breed forward.
Yes.
And that we hear it from ABKC officials, we hear from the judges, we hear it from everybody, is that if a dog's going to get put up, it needs to be able to carry the breed forward. I mean, reality of it is when you make a dog a champion, the owner's going to go back and put it on Facebook and said, hey, this dog's a champion, and inherently people want to breed to a champion, right? Because apparently this dog has traits that are going to move the breed forward.
Proven characteristics of the breed.
And that's always a beef I've kind of had, because I've seen people take dogs that we knew full well by the time they were 2 years old probably wasn't going to have bully breed type. Their breed type wasn't going to be proper. But they put them in a puppy class up to 1 year and hurried up and got them champed out before they turned a year old. Right. And then the dog disappears for a while, and then it comes back at 2 in the champion class and makes a run for grand champion. Right. But when you're in a champion class, you're not in a class. Right. They're just looking at the dog. So unless the judge asks you, hey, what class did this dog champ out in? Right. Because they're just going to look at the dog, and it looks like a classic.
Well, if it's under a year old, it's all. If it's under a year old, it's all standard American bully.
Right. It's all right. So, but that's my concern, is like there's a lot. When you get your championship papers, it doesn't say which class you champed out in. Right.
Gotcha.
So what it concerns me is that a lot of dogs bring champions and even grand champions that champed out in the standard class.
Gotcha.
Even though they're not really, and they come to the community and they say, hey, this is a champion standard or a grand champion standard. Right. But it doesn't actually fit breed type.
Right.
So
and in my ring, just to add to that, in my ring, I'm always looking at that dog of if it's a champion, especially in a champion class. Even if I don't ask you, I'm judging that dog to the pocket, to the standard of a pocket. If I look at that, it's or a classic, I'm judging it, and even in the puppy class, because it's kind of hard when you're mixed up, like you said, that standard class. I still try to put that dog in the class that I think and judge it to the standards, you know what I mean, as far as the height. But the standard's still going to be American bully. I'm just going to give it a little bit maybe a little lanky because it's an XL. I'm going to take the exceptions of that is it going to be a pocket? So with my ring, I'm taking that in consideration.
Right. Let's see.
Especially champs. I mean, a lot of times, not to say that I kind of can, if I see the dog, I kind of know exactly where it's going to be. Right. You get some of them, I call them tweeners, that one day, okay, it could be possibly a standard, could be a possible classic, but I'm judging them pretty much the same. Not to saying that the standard and the classic are the same, but height and a lot of things are similar. Just the mass and muscle is different,
Which class is harder for you to judge, the champ or the grand?
Champ's the toughest. That's the big show right there. That's the class of all classes. It's the most competitive. It's the most detailed that I have to get to really breaking them down to, every little thing, as far as even headpiece or, whatever it is. But yeah, it's definitely more of a tougher judging and harder.
Exactly. I was looking through some of the comments here. Mr. Cooper gave
Coops.
He said everything encompasses breed type. You can't pick and choose parts. The silhouette defines how it should look or appearance. The head is a key element. Movement is a key element. Key type is the sum of key points that make the dog look like its own breed and no other. The standard defines it. Without type, the identity of the breed is lost. When the identity becomes lost, you no longer fit the breed.
Correct.
Right.
So just with Mr. Cooper's saying right there, he's saying the same thing. Breed type is important. I'm not saying it's the full silhouette, and it's not everything that comes in like movement and all. And yes, it does. But that's a perfect dog.
Right.
Now step out and judge what is better characteristic. What is more important? What is going to keep the bully? This is the face. This is the judgment face. This is why we're faced with, and this is why ABKC judges are the best badass judges in the world, because we're faced with way more than any other registries.
Yeah,
these other registries, they don't. Do you think you ever go to AKC show and ever dismiss a dog?
Mm-hmm.
No, because they're locked in their breed type. They already have so many good examples that they can go and put it just put it to the standards and then take the fall. No. We have way more. We have to weigh out, is this dog even breed worthy? This dog moves amazement, has great structure, but lacks everything in the headpiece. So this is where people got to understand, is reading off a piece of paper is easy, but now put yourself as a judge in there, and what is better or what is worse for the breed, and what is better or worse as far as flaws. You know what I mean? That's the big thing, and that's where we have, as judges, we even battle sometimes, because sometimes people lean toward movement more. I'm blatantly and explain exactly why I lead toward breed type dogs, or more of that headpiece and more of that identification of the look, because the American Bully, that's what it is. That's what the appearance is. Read it.
Yeah.
I can recite it. Great appearance of great strength, compact, medium to large, muscular, bony, blocky head. Everything I'm saying, So now let me go back. But now I got a great movement, perfect angulation. I'm talking picture perfect structure, everything. Snipey nose, lax, bulky head. And the muzzle ain't square. It's pointy. What is all that other movement and all those great other parts if it doesn't look like the breed?
Right.
And so that's where sometimes, and not saying Coops just maybe Coops is what he said is a lot correct.
It is. That's exactly correct.
Yeah, but we're not faced with the perfect dogs.
Right.
We're not always faced. So this is where you have to step out and educate yourself. What is a better and what is worse? And welcome to the ABKC judges.
So the standard and everything encompassing the American Bully was written to the perfect American Bully, right?
Correct.
So if you ever lost in a ring, you don't have the perfect American Bully.
Right.
Correct.
So it's surprising how people think they have a better dog, but have lost in the ring before.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to step back and really be realistic with themselves.
Right.
Because any dog can lose. Any dog can lose. No, if you've lost in the ring, you do not have the perfect American Bully. You do not fit the standard to a T.
Yeah, I wanted to bring his comment back up, because what you're saying is he's describing here the perfect American Bully.
Right.
In any one of these key elements missing, which could be the movement, which could be the mass, which could be the headpiece, which could be a number of things, make that dog flawed. And that's just reality. Like, it's just reality. That we can't dismiss it not having the head. That's a flaw. We can't dismiss the dog not moving right. That's a flaw, right?
Right.
But your job, which is the hard job as a judge, is to figure out which is the lesser evil, right?
You got it.
And put up.
But is it the lesser evil for you? Right.
No, my decisions are never for me because, like I say, what I breed with and what I judge is a lot of times two different things. So I always number one, it's about the breed. Okay, and this is where we could argue and people move it. To me, the most number one flaw, serious flaw, is lack of breed identification, lack of the dog looking like an American bully. There's no other flaw that I can see that is worse than that.
Right.
I mean, straight off with that. Now you get examples of the same dogs, very similar. They both have the same identical headpiece. Then we can flaw judge where we can perfect. Okay, but until we have the certain, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but until we have a similar identification look,
right.
And then we can dissect the rest of it. And I always use the point system. Okay, point system judging doesn't happen much. It happened a lot, but 50 points out of 100 is the head and identification for judging. So that tells you that all the front, back, rear, groin, every single part of that dog is only 50%.
Right.
So people have to understand how important the head, the look, the characteristics of the breed are that overweigh the flaws. Once we perfect all that, we can perfect flaws. We can do all that in breeding.
Right.
But we have to have a template to make better, not something that's going to take us backwards.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it moves great, but it has no headpiece. It has a snipey. What does it matter if it moves perfect? If it doesn't have the identification, the breed type look to make it an American bully.
Right.
Yeah,
that the breed, well, the actual, because using breed type, I feel like maybe sometimes, they started throwing in that video breed character around, which is another term that applies. But I feel like by using that, it refocuses people on the character of the dog, because the structure of the dog is encompassing in what is breed type. It has to, the silhouette includes the top line, right? But breed character is what defines the look of the dog, the elements that when you walk it into the pet store and people look at it and they say, that's an American bully, right? Because it clearly defines the dog from its ancestors, which, again, we're only 17 years in.
Yep.
If we're at that point already where we're able to walk dogs into the pet store and people may go, I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, that's an awesome dog, right? Mm-hmm. If they're already at 17 years telling us that they don't see the pit bull in our dogs, we're kicking ass. Because
I agree.
Probably a lot of breeds that at 17 years were still a huge hot mess that didn't even look the way they were supposed to. It took dogs 100 years to become the dog that you see in the show ring.
No, I agree. I mean, we can use the Frenchies, and I'm not saying that one Frenchie is better than the other, but you see that the brindles and the creams have a lot better consistency and structure than the new colored Frenchies. Well, common sense. You're going against a breed that's over 100 years old established. So that's why those creams and those brindles are a lot better structurally and look a lot better to the breed type of the Frenchies.
Right.
And I'm not taking anybody away that's bringing the colors in or anything like that, but we still got to develop them, and they are getting better. I mean, I'm not a Merle fan, but even the Merles are getting structurally better, and
yeah.
So it's positive, And
on the line of the Frenchies, the Roach.
Yeah.
Was it originally accepted, or was like the desired look of the Frenchie originally to have a level top line?
No, not at all. It was originally high like that, and even with no angulation. You're supposed to see a straighter stife with your Frenchies, and a lot of times That's why a lot of times they're in ABKC and that they free stack, and you don't see any ground stacking. You see them a lot, doing a free stack with them.
Right. Just standing on the table. And,
yeah. Or even if you ever been to the AKC shows and watched the Frenchies, a lot of times they'll plop and drop, I call it. They just don't lift the rear end and just drop it. They don't set no angulation in that. They want a little bit of high,
accentuate the roach.
You got it. Exactly.
And it's funny, like, so there's a perfect example of a breed that if we took that and we put that on the American Bully, that's a flaw. The roach. Completely unacceptable. On the Frenchie, it's part of the breed, right? Yet we are a different breed than the pit bull, but some of the things that define the American Bully as what it is, people are calling it a flaw in some cases, which it would be on the pit bull, but not necessarily on the American Bully.
Correct.
So I'm talking about a little heavier or slower movement. It doesn't have that spring and the movement that a pit bull would have, right? And people think that's a bad thing. It's unhealthy because the dog doesn't move as quickly or as lightly on the feet as it should. But that is the flaw that defines our breed. So it's not really a flaw. It's what defines our breed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of, we still have a long way to go in the breed.
We do.
I think it's super important that you guys as judges are doing what you're doing and
appreciate it.
Putting the information out there and saying, hey, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. And I just applaud all of you. I know I don't always agree with everything every judge ever does. There's judges out there that, consistently, I know when a dog gets in the ring, I know exactly the type of dog they're going to pick. And I don't necessarily agree with it. But at the same time, they're the judge, and I think at the very least, I have to respect their choices as a judge.
Yeah. Long as a judge tells you exactly why and explains exactly the reasoning, then there is no fault to them. Like I said, I'll even like my own, friends with many of them. I might not agree, and they might not agree with me that breed characteristics more, or maybe that I should pay more attention to the movement, and it should be okay. And then I respect that, but yet the reasoning, and I've said it over and over in here, you guys understand why I'm doing what I'm doing in the ring, why my picks are the way they are. You know what I mean? I pretty much, and I don't know how many judges are out there that put themselves or expose themselves like I do to be nitpicked or crucial or say it like it is and give discussion for people to make me think different.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think this way for my reasons, and I'll explain to you, but tell me why you think that way, and maybe I'll change. Maybe you'll make me look at something different, So I'm always open still. I've been breeding dogs for 30 plus years, and I still don't close it. I still don't read. I read articles from everywhere just to absorb anything I can,
Right. Oh, and that's the huge thing. I think of a lot of people that are new, if they're watching this video, understand we're probably talking a bit of a more advanced subject when it comes to the dog, right? But a lot of people that are just getting into the breed, there is incredibly hard to find good information on these dogs, especially if you like shoulder assemblies and rear assemblies and the angles and all that stuff. You can't go to Google and go into Google and type in, American Bully rear assembly angles. You're not going to get a result. You don't know what that percentage is. You don't know what that angle is.
Okay, got you.
You're trying to finite breed to a dog. The information just isn't out there. So I think that's part of what we need to do is try to help bring the community to educated to say, okay, this is what, yes, we want breed type, but these are the other things that we need to add, or you have a dog with great structure, but these are the things that you need to add. Don't let someone else convince you that, the dog that you have is good enough. Like you should be continue to push breed forward.
Yeah. And that's exactly, and that's why I love to see Dave and James stepping up, getting those illustrations out. They didn't just pick that up. They went out there and had somebody design them and draw them for us. So these guys, I mean, that's what kind of, sometimes, I'm wrong with when I get pissed off or I, say so, but that's why I get pissed off. Once you look at the positive that these guys are doing, even Dave the other day, with his Excel stuff in England, people want to take one word and switch it around with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you heard me say, give me a half a video and say half of a speech and, just to make people look bad. It's like ridiculous. But these guys are stepping up. Start looking at these pluses or call me out. You know what I mean? If you don't like my opinion in the ring, I'll be the more, and you guys all know, I'll sit there and talk to you all day long. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not justifying my pick, but explaining to you why it is.
Right.
So hit that judge instead of going in back on Facebook and bitching about that. Just step up and ask them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some judges are going to be more explaining than others, but get a feedback. So you know where you're at.
And I do appreciate what they're doing. That especially Cooper, and because Cooper the last few days has been posting those illustrations on it. So if you're new and you want to look at what the picture of the dog is supposed to be, find James Cooper on Facebook. And if you look through his posts, I think just about every day he's posting
Something
a new one of these illustrations.
Yeah.
And that gives you, the ability to really look at what you should be shooting for.
Yeah. And no, all props to Coops. Coops, love what he's doing, and I hope no one took me wrong when I kind of was going off, or I wasn't trying to be negative. I just wanted to point out the point that a perfect dog is easy, but this is not what we're faced. And that's all, and Coops was 100% right. It's the whole package. Yes, you're right. But what happened if the whole package, no one has the whole package?
Right.
This is where
Which
people
is always the case. I mean,
and at the end of the day, you have to choose the dog that looks like
because the perfect dog has never lost in the ring.
Right.
You got it. And a Rottweiler is not lost in the ring for a Rottweiler. A Shepherd's not lost for a Shepherd. And an American Bully should always look like an American Bully, and that's the number one most important.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it is 8:26, and we're famous for going over. But so we're going to wrap.
I got another hour, fellas, man. Let's keep going, man.
But I appreciate you coming on, and obviously, any other judges that want to come on and jump on, even if I don't necessarily agree with what you said, what you do most of the time, I'm open for opinions. I'm open.
Right.
We as people that show need to have a better understanding of what our judges are doing, what they're looking for. I think that is one of the ways we're truly going to excel in the show ring.
And then, guys, thanks for having me out here, because I get to explain, and I'm not speaking for every judge or any judge, but I'm explaining sometimes when those difficult picks, and so you open your eyes to looking at more of that dog than just the flaw itself.
Right.
And that's really why I'm on here, and that was the main reason. I mean, I love you guys. I love everybody out there, But if I can make you guys understand and open your eyes to certain categories, certain things, that's what I'm here for, man. That's what it's about.
Awesome.
And we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight. If you would, please share this live if you're watching it on live. Subscribe to us on going blank.
Uh-oh. iTunes.
We'll bring it up. We'll bring the banner up. So
There
it's
you go.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and we are live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook. So find us on there. Give us a like. Give us a share. We'd appreciate it. Helps support the show, and we definitely appreciate your guys' support. Later.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.